Sergeant First Class Mac Dolan had been standing gates for 22 years, and he had learned somewhere around year 6 that you could read a post by its gait the same way you could read a man by his hands. The gait told you everything: the tempo of the duty rotation, the temperament of whoever held the detail, the unspoken rules about who got waved through and who got held up in the gravel apron and made to feel it. The gate at Camp Ardmore was no different. 2 lanes of hardpack, a chicane of Jersey barriers, a pole-mounted camera that panned slow as a tired old man, and a plywood-sided booth with a keypad console bolted to a metal stand outside it. The morning dust came in off the flats in low sheets, the kind that coated your teeth if you opened your mouth too wide. Dolan kept his mouth closed. He had learned that too. Lieutenant Hargrove was 26 years old, a SEAL-qualified officer 4 months into his first rotation to the post, and he ran the morning gate detail the way young men with good records and new authority sometimes run things: loudly, and with the confidence of a man who has not yet been wrong in front of a crowd. He was not a bad officer. Dolan had seen bad officers. Hargrove was something different, bright, capable, and absolutely certain that certainty was the same thing as experience. He stood at the near lane with his thumbs hooked in his kit, watching the gravel, and the 3 enlisted men in his detail watched him the way enlisted men watch a lieutenant when they are still deciding what to make of him. It was a Tuesday. Nothing about it looked like anything other than a Tuesday. The woman came on foot, which was the first thing Dolan noticed, because foot traffic at the vehicle gate was unusual enough to register. She came from the direction of the outer road, not the lot, moving at an even unhurried pace, boots, plain dark trousers, a sand-colored jacket that looked like something you would buy in any outdoor store in any mid-sized American city. No cover, no kit, nothing on her shoulders or her belt that said military to a man who wasn't paying close attention. She was somewhere in her 50s, Dolan guessed, lean and straight-spined, and she carried herself with the particular stillness of someone who has long since stopped needing to explain herself to a room. Hargrove clocked her at about 30 yards and stepped into her lane. "Ma'am," he said it the way men say a word when the word itself is a door closing. "Vehicle gate. You'll want the visitor access point. That's 200 meters back toward the main road. The duty officer can get you signed in." She stopped. She looked at him. She did not look confused, and she did not look offended, and that, Dolan would think about later, the total absence of either reaction, as if she had been told the weather. "I know where the visitor point is," she said. "Yes, ma'am, I'm going to need you to use it." The 3 enlisted men watched. One of them, the youngest, a kid from Iowa who had been on post less time than Hargrove, shifted his weight. Dolan didn't move. He had learned not to move when something was happening that he did not yet fully understand. "I'm going to use the console," the woman said, and she walked past Hargrove to the keypad stand beside the booth. Hargrove turned. "Ma'am, that console requires command-level authentication. I can't let you." "I know what it requires." She squared to the keypad. Her hands were steady. She pressed her palm flat to the reader and said 2 words quietly so that only the men nearest her caught them: "Ridgeline, access." Then she entered 8 digits. The screen's amber standby light pulsed once, then twice. The display blanked. Dolan's hand found the booth frame without his telling it to, and he gripped the painted wood and watched the screen the way you watch a field when something moves in the grass that you can't name yet. The console came back red. Then it cleared. The text was not large, but the morning light was clean enough and Dolan's eyes were good enough, and he read it the same moment Hargrove did. "Full access granted, Theater Commander." Hargrove read it once. He read it again. His mouth opened very slightly, the way a man's mouth opens when his mind is working faster than his body knows what to do with. The woman reached up and unzipped the sand-colored jacket. She did not make a production of it. She folded it over her left forearm in one clean motion, the way you fold a coat you expect to carry for a while. And there, On the collar of the plain duty shirt beneath it, no ribbons, no name tape, nothing that announced itself from a distance, were 4 small silver stars, each one the size of a thumbnail, placed with the flat precision of a woman who had worn them long enough that they were simply part of her uniform, unremarkable to her even if not to anyone else. Hargrove looked at the stars, he looked at the screen, he looked at the stars again. Nobody moved for a full 3 seconds. It was not a long time, 3 seconds, but at a gate on a Tuesday morning with the dust coming in off the flats and 8 men who thought they knew exactly what kind of day it was long enough to understand that the day had changed. From the direction of the operations building, boots on hardpack, quick, deliberate, the sound of a man walking faster than he wanted to be seen walking. Dahlen looked. Brigadier General Cates, the deputy post commander, was crossing the gravel at a pace that was nearly a run, his cover squared, his face set in the expression of a man who has received word he is already too late for something important. Behind him, a specialist with a radio struggled to keep up. Cates reached the gate lane, straightened, and came to attention. "General," he said, "we weren't notified of a ground approach. I apologize, ma'am." "No notification was sent," the woman said. "It was not reassurance and it was not rebuke. It was a statement of fact, delivered level and clean, the way she seemed to deliver everything. I walked the outer perimeter from the eastern access road. I wanted to see the gate." Cates did not ask what she had found. He seemed, Dahlen thought, like a man who already suspected. Hargrove had not moved. His hands were no longer hooked in his kit. They were at his sides, exactly at his sides, and he was standing at attention with the particular straightness of a man who has discovered, too late, that the floor he was standing on was not the floor he thought it was. The 3 enlisted men beside him had come to attention as well by reflex, without instruction. The woman looked at Hargrove. Dahlen watched her look at him, and he watched Hargrove hold it, and he thought, at least the boy is holding it. There was something in that worth noting. "You ran your post the way you were trained," she said. "Unknown individual, no military indicators. Vehicle gate you redirected to visitor access. That's the protocol." She let that sit for a moment. "The protocol doesn't cover a 4-star at the pedestrian approach in civilian clothes because nobody expects it. That's the point. Remember what that feels like." Hargrove said, "Yes, ma'am," and his voice was steady, which cost him something. She nodded once, not warmth, not coldness, just acknowledgement, the kind that meant the transaction was complete. Then she looked at Cates, and the 2 of them walked toward the operations building, and the brigadier general matched her pace, and the specialist with the radio fell in behind. Dahlen watched them go. The dust came in off the flats, the camera panned, the morning held its shape. He looked at the console screen still lit. Full access granted, theater commander. In a minute, someone from operations would come out and clear it. But right now it was still there, and Dahlen stood with it. 22 years. How many gates, how many mornings, how many lieutenants learning the difference between certainty and experience. How many times he had stood in this exact posture, back straight, eyes forward, the machinery of the post grinding on around him, and tried to find the thing that made it worth grinding. He had found it today. It had come in on foot, in a civilian jacket, at a vehicle gate on a Tuesday, and it had not announced itself, and it had not needed to. Dahlen uncurled his hand from the booth frame. He looked at the post, at the hardpack and the barriers and the slow-panning camera, at Hargrove still standing with his hands at his sides, and the long stare of a man recalibrating. He had seen generals before. He had seen ceremony, and he had seen brass, and he had seen the full theater of rank rendered in polished shoes and salutes. He had not, until this morning, seen it like that. Without a word spoken, without a moment's heat. Just a woman who knew exactly who she was, standing at a gate, waiting for the screen to say what she already knew. Dahlen squared his shoulders, faced the lane, and went back to work.